Hey y'all, welcome to the Standing on Business podcast, where ambition meets action. From career moves to life lessons,
our podcast is dedicated to supporting you as you navigate both the personal and professional growth journey.
Ultimately giving you the confidence to always stand in your truth.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Standing on Business podcast. I'm Bianca.
And I'm Amari.
And today we're talking all about building from the ground up, creativity, and innovation. We have an amazing guest with us today that has built one of the most recognizable New Orleans media platforms. He's a label owner, and also he is a creator in all things innovation and AI. I would love to welcome Mr. Brent Craige to the Standing on Business podcast.
Thank you for having me. That was a good
Welcome,
intro.
Brent.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to sit on the big
waiting on
comfy
doing
couch
this one.
with
This
us.
is a long time coming.
I know. We'll get into it, but you definitely have helped us with the Stand On Business
Right.
podcast so much. So we're happy to have you sit on the couch with us. But before we dive in, I would like to do a little bit more intro about who you are to our audience. So Mr. Craige is the founder and CEO of Newtral Groundz. He is also the co-founder of Savant, a proud Tuskegee alum, and the creator of his own personal brand, Plug and Profits. So thank you so much for being here
Thank
today.
you. Really excited for this conversation.
So to that end, Brent, one, thank you again for taking out time to be here with us. You know, for those of you who are avid listeners, you guys have heard us reference Brent quite often on this show, but this is now putting a name with a face. And also just thank you for getting us to this point and all the things that you've done to help contribute to us being able to have something that is tangible and people can interact with. So thank you for that. I know that you also listen in.
I do listen.
So to that point, we're going to kick off our A to B segment. And basically in this segment, we like to kind of start with like, what has your journey been? What is your, navigation through your career looked like? Kind of hitting some of those granular discussion points that maybe you haven't really shared before. So with that, I would like to ask Brent, because you've done so much in brand building and media and stepping into music now, and now tech, which is super fun and innovative. Walk us through your journey a little bit. How did this start? I guess let's start foundationally with your firstborn, Newtral Groundz.
Yeah. And to talk a little bit about Newtral Groundz, and of course I've told the story 100 times, is we have to go back to my college days. So went to Tuskegee University and
HBCU.
HBCU.
Period.
My 10-year homecoming was last weekend. And I majored in political science. I originally wanted to go to law school until I realized that I hated school and that I wasn't. Yeah, I was about to. They said I love arguing, but it's just too much paperwork. And I've really been I've been talented visual arts since third grade, so I've always been into media. I've painted, I've had painters in Jazz Fest, I've sculpted, done a lot from the visual perspective. And then also I played in the band, played trumpet in 6th grade, and then I played F-horn at 3-5 when I graduated. So when I went into the political science field, I really was more of a creative media type vibe. And I learned a lot about propaganda and the power and influence that it has over people. So, especially at the HBCU where you're learning about, Black history and what our people went through, when you pair that with the political science backing, you're actually starting to see the systemic causes of how we're able to, get a people to submit to a certain system, and then it starts, trickling down into generational traumas and all of that stuff. So, took my direction away from the law school and went more into media. So I would just do some filming stuff. I would film Greek Weeks and film Homecoming and stuff like that. And I also was into the political space as far as running for offices in SGA. So I ran for freshman class president my freshman year, and I ran against 7 people, won that election. And then after that, one of my future pro fights, I pledged Alpha at Tuskegee, he basically offered me a position on his cabinet if I was to join his team. So I wound up joining his campaign team. He won. He appointed me as executive secretary, and as another one of his promises, he allowed me to start my own media committee within the government. Yeah, so it was a political play, So when we did that, Tuskegee didn't have a communications program. So my goal was to round up everyone who had an interest in journalism, media, photography, and then bring them into this committee. And then we could just cover stuff like maybe do homecoming shows or do interviews of people on campus. And that started out as something called the SGA media team, which eventually transitioned into Tiger Press when I rebranded it my junior year. And Tiger Press is the precursor for Newtral Groundz, because after I graduated and moved back home, I pretty much had the Tiger Press assets. So I had all the pages, the website, and New Orleans and Tuskegee is the same in the sense that it's rich in history but poor in media infrastructure. So I was pretty much able to just continue the work that I was doing in New Orleans. So got a new team of journalists, Bianca knows because she's a part of our team right now, and we've just been building from then. So that's pretty much my foundations on how Newtral Groundz started. It took that into documentaries. We, got the music stuff, which we'll talk about a little later, but it's really just turned into a beacon and a information antenna for New Orleans, which, in Louisiana, is over 50% of the parishes don't have their own news outlet. So being able to provide information in a media desert, it helps the community, it helps people get the knowledge they need, and it's just overall good for safety.
No, I'm a part of the team and appreciate the, hearing the story over and over again, because it really shows that you took something off of you as a student, and you're like, I'm really going to take this, I'm coming back home, what can I do with this? And you turn it into something amazing.
I love it. No, very beautiful story. I am inspired. I feel like I've learned, we know each other, but I feel like I'm learning even more about you in this moment. And I think there's something to be said too about you making that pivot, right? From poli-sci into more media focused ambitions. And I think Bianca and I talk about this all the time. When it comes to social media, it can be polarizing of are you an agent for this or are you against it? And I have my own thoughts. You have your own thoughts with that.
Brent has
his own thoughts. But to that point, it's nice because we always say you're either the producer or the consumer when it comes to media. And I think what I'm learning is that when you're on the producer side of things, you get to be a conduit or kind of like what is the word I'm looking for? It'll come back to me. Yeah, basically for what you want to see in these channels or in these platforms. And it's kind of like radio stations of okay, if I don't want to listen to rock and heavy metal, maybe I make something different. And so to that end, it's really nice to see that you had that thought back then and you have been continually being the change that you wanted to see in those media spaces, given what you just said in New Orleans of media deserts. It's you're giving a voice and amplifying voices that otherwise may not have been heard. So thank you for sharing that and hopefully inspiring our audience because I'm feeling the bug now of what can I go do to help somebody do something? I don't know.
We know that your career did not stop there. Can you talk about how you transitioned into the tech world and what did that look like and how you're able to do both?
It's interesting because it does still come back to Tuskegee, and it was the hardest class in my political science major. It was a sophomore class. It was started by this guy named Dr. Roberts. He was the most hardest teacher. We feared this dude's class. And he passed away, so shout out to him for empowering us with these tools because the current website engine that I use to manage Newtral Groundz, I learned in his class. So WordPress, he helped us publish our first website in his class, and he created this class. It was called Cyberspace and Politics. And it was essentially how do you govern the virtual state. So this is in 2012 where you have this individual telling us about AI and telling us about digital assets and blockchain. And he had us writing these papers, and I told you about this, is 10 font single space, every paper. He got us writing 30-page papers.
Oh, wow.
10 font single space.
And you're maximizing that entire surface area.
I took the whole collection of papers because I was one of the few people to get an A in his class, and I turned it into a book and named it Cyberspace and Politics. So that was actually the first book that I published. And how it plays into tech is that politics and cyberspace and media is all intertwined because it's all used as either a spirit influence or a distribution vehicle. So that bug was put on me the same time that I was realizing all of these things because he was literally teaching us this in class. He had us publish a WordPress, he had us write articles, he had us set up domain names, stuff that really, that's what our entire business model is pretty much built around, is the tech stuff that I learned in this class. And then I've always been, in the sci-fi, so Dexter's Laboratory and Star Trek and stuff, so
world domination.
World domination, right. And it's funny because a lot of this stuff is new to people, but when you watch, on SpongeBob, how Plankton had AI, or Dexter had AI, everyone who was considered smart had an AI. You know what I mean? So it's really not that far-fetched for a lot of the sci-fi people, a lot of the people who grew up on that type of content to adopt this type of stuff. Because we were waiting on it. We like, I'm waiting for when I can talk to a computer like a person and they go do stuff for me. So the tech, it was still serviced in just, my blatant interest in computers and digital media, but then that class was the pivotal moment where I saw where things were going. And then from there, I just made it apparent to always be on top of the new technology. So whether it's like blockchain or whether it's like AI, just always making sure that we're on top of that, because that way we have the leverage to be able to undo some of those generational traumas.
Wow, that's a journey. And I know there's more as well, because you, as being co-founder of Savant, Savant didn't always start off as Savant. So can you talk to us about what it was before and just how you even use all of that, what you just talked about, into like where you are today?
Yeah, so Savant started off as a company called Jam Around. Jam Around in 2022, we won the New Orleans Entrepreneurship Week pitch competition, where we won a $400,000 investment that we used as our intro capital to raise what we closed as at an $880,000 investment round. And the reason we got involved in the ecosystem, which was by way of Idea Village, which is one of the economic development nonprofits in the area, was simply because of what I talked about earlier, is like staying on top of technology. So when crypto hit, me and my co-founder Donovan, we were like deep into the crypto space, deep into the metaverse space. And it really was a result of COVID, because once COVID hit and everyone started running digital, we lived in digital. So we had a massive advantage on just market opportunity. We were doing a lot of consulting work. There's a lot of stimulus checks going around. So a lot of people were investing. The market was real hot. And I just got on TikTok and I would start creating these stories about, okay, what is the metaverse, or how do NFTs work? What is a digital asset? How do they appreciate? Like, just giving them that information. And I launched a successful crypto project called NF Teacher, which essentially taught people how to leverage digital assets, invest in them, and also just get the education on how to navigate this new cyber economy. And closed that startup down right when we started Jam Around, because the crypto markets like tanked. So it was like everybody got cleaned out. I jumped out at the perfect time, but I got the request to join the Idea Village cohort, and they were asking, we want you to join. What companies do you have? So I talked about Newtral Groundz, which I wasn't getting that. We had NF Teacher, we were just sunsetting that. So we had this little app called Jam Around, which is just like a Tinder meets LinkedIn for music creators, where you could just swipe left and right, find a collaborator. And it was cool. We had like 1,000 users on it, but it was just like a little web app that we just made in our spare time. Joined Idea Village. It was the time when Patrick Comer sold his company Lucid for $1 billion. So this was the first time a company has ever sold in Louisiana for $1 billion. So they were really like excited and just willing to throw money at things and bet on the future talent. So when we competed, we won that competition. We did a lot of pivots. We went from the Tinder meets LinkedIn system to like a music equity management system. Then AI kind of picked up to where we were able to leverage the technology better. So we created this AI A&R that could listen to your music, coach you up without you having to go and pay for those services. And once we did that, we realized that it would be a good opportunity to sell that to companies who wanted to hyper personalize their engagement with artists. So you have companies like Fender, for example, that sells gear, or you got companies like Pro Tools that sell software, and their hardest challenge is getting a way to engage artists to get on their products. And our solution was, if you give them a vehicle to get their music heard, because that's all artists want, and you provide them with feedback, then they will talk to you for days and give you as much data as you could to leverage their sales and marketing. So we pivoted into that, and once that was kind of up and running, we decided to enter into different verticals to kind of strengthen our raise case. So the next vertical was capital markets. So a lot of people deal with pitch deck overflow. Content inflation is just coming through all day. You really don't have no way to sift through it, and you cannot pay enough people to sift through it because there's so much content, which is when we decided to evolve from Jam Around, which was just a music A&R management white label technology, to intake intelligence technology across sectors, because we already built the technology to take in the highest volume of content. So it's 100,000 songs that get published per day. So if we created a system that can take in that and not really have any hiccups, then now we can go into other verticals and offer them different intake intelligence solutions to read a pitch deck or read a script or like check an Instagram post and grade that. So pretty much the next wave of AI is going to be about how do we take all of this content that's been generated by AI and make sense of it. So what we're building is the next wave of AI, which is an intake intelligence system that can take in content, score it, pre-filter it, so that it can be scanned, and then the decisions can be made more accurately. I'm sorry, y'all.
I appreciate you sharing, though, because I think what you did just now also, you highlighted a lot of the conversation that we want to get into, whether it's talking about media and marketing or innovation or all the music stuff. You shed light on a lot of what we want to dig into today. And so I appreciate you sharing. It's great to learn about it. I'm kind of like entranced of like, yes, let me learn more. It's like, are you the AI that you're describing? I feel like I'm just here putting in a prompt. But I also think that it is really beautiful that a lot of this is kind of a butterfly effect from you taking that class in college. Like, and I think that there's something really worth noting that I think you had a professor that you were inspired by, like, although he was a tough cookie, he had valuable lessons to impart and to give and instill. And I think, you know, unfortunately he has passed and he's had his time and lived his life, but I definitely can see that you are emulating that legacy by all the work that you've done outside of the classroom. And I think that in itself is really beautiful as well, of like, it just takes one person to influence one person the right way, and that can affect thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. And so I think that's beautiful, and I really appreciate you being so intentional with how you have navigated your path to be able to give us all of these great things. And to that end, I want to ask one more question from our point A to point B, and then we can get into our second segment. But I'm genuinely curious to what was that point in your career for you when you realized, like, I'm not just creating all of these multiple projects, I'm creating something that has some sustainability and some real momentum in the community, and I'm making a difference and it has an impact. Like, when did you recognize that, and what did that revelation feel like?
Interesting. So when I realized that, so Hurricane Ida hit, that was the first time that we actually did like some real community work. So we wound up staying behind, lost all our power. New Orleans was crazy. Like, we had to get out of there. We made it to, I think it was Slidell, my aunt's house, and he had a generator and stuff. And it was like 3-4 days passed, and we didn't even have the resources to communicate what was going on. And we had so many people that was reaching out just to figure out things, you know, like where the resources are, like, do you know where my people is, you know, just trying to figure things out. And that was our first time dealing with like a real national disaster as a popular media outlet, because before nobody really was checking for us. So when we made it to Houston by my sister, finally, we sleeping on her floor, we're like, okay, what do we do to try to make this easier for people? So we decided to launch a fund to literally just like raise money and just give it back to people. So we put out a campaign saying that if you need some aid, fill out this form. We got around 1,000 plus people that filled out the form. And at the same time, we put out a donation link for people to give donations. And I think we did like $30,000 in like 2 days.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing, especially for that time.
Yes, I remember that was crazy.
I lived here during Hurricane Ida, so I know the time that you're speaking to, and it was a time of displacement, a time of like chaos, because it happened so quickly. Like, I think we had maybe like a day or two notice of like, okay, you gotta leave, figure it out. And that's, it sounds good in theory, but when you're actually here, you may not have the resources, you may not have the logistics plan. Like, it's not as easy as it may seem, or it's easier said than done to say, oh, we're just gonna evacuate. Like, it's not.
People were relying on people like you and Newtral Groundz to like give back, because it was so fast. And we're, you know, in healthcare, we were hustling, trying to get clinics together, trying to get people, and like the resources that people had were lacking. And that's the whole thing with the city, but like, it's a whole nother podcast that we could do. But no, it's really nice that you all were able to like do that when, you know, I wasn't part of the team just yet, but I saw all the posts.
It was crazy. One of the notes too is that PJ Morton, he got on our Instagram live and played piano and raised like $7,000 in like an hour.
That's amazing, and that's the power of community when people band together. And that's impact alone, just detonate. You know, like doing, you know, so that's beautiful.
And that was the moment where it let me know, okay, we are entertainment and we are informing people, but at this point we have brand power. You know. And
I will say another thing that I have to call out is your humility. because for it have taken that long for you to realize that you are who you are, it says something because, again, Hurricane Ida might have been, 2021 or 2022? 2021, I believe.
Because you're a fellow? No, you're out.
I was out of my fellowship at that point. But to that end, like, that's fairly recent. It hasn't even been 5 years for you to recognize who you actually are.
And so, the impact of the brand.
Yes, like, and it's even in that it's scaled so much, but I would say at that time, I would argue you that it was something that people were paying attention to and were engaged in. And so hats off to you for being, you know, such a humble person. And I think another thing is your testament to your resiliency. I think you showcasing that is really like the personification of what the culture of New Orleans is.
Right.
Like, very much so. So
I know. It's already
this
great.
Is great. Yeah.
Great.
Truly.
But I do want to segment us to like the next section because we've already touched on from music to innovation, AI, media, marketing. You're able to, as a person who you've done this for years, and even with your newer projects and being able to like work with you, you can teach people so much. So we want to deep dive into the media and marketing segment right quick. Okay. So you could tell us more about how you're able to, one, you know, through your new personal brand, Plug and Profits, to really educate people and get people on the right track with their businesses. But also but two, like making sure that people understand that there's so many avenues that they can, you know, utilize marketing and other tools that you gained throughout the years to help themselves. So I do want to ask the first question of what is the biggest lesson that you've learned when it comes to marketing, but particularly in a market like New Orleans?
Yeah, so the biggest marketing lesson, and I don't like to hang on to like the biggest or my favorites, but I would say that a big marketing lesson that I've learned is just about a funnel, marketing funnels. You know, like a lot of people assume due to social media and the rise of digital tools that have lowered the barrier of entry into some of these segments, assume that, you know, you post on social media and the algorithm will just take you where you need to go. You know, when it could be furthest from the truth. You're almost like playing a lottery when you just randomly posting on social media. And if you look at these companies and you see their real interest, like you can see what Facebook wants, you can see what Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you can see what they want. Right. And just understanding the language of these platforms, but it all comes back down to just a basic sales funnel. It's like there's national statistics that tell you how many people convert per segment. So in CPG, so consumer product goods, or in software, like there are percentage standards saying that if I get 100 people, the statistic is 2% are going to convert. So I get 2 people. If I sell those 2 people on $300 product and it cost me 100 to get the 100 people, I just made $500.
It's worth the investment.
Yeah, and it's the algorithm and the mathematics behind it. And I've never been a math guy until I started getting into the finance world and all that type of stuff. But it's just all statistics. You know, if you get certain people at the top of the funnel, they're going to convert at the bottom. And if you just make sure that your math is mathing across the boards, you will have a winning campaign. So that's the biggest thing that if I would tell anyone to learn, is just get into like what an actual sales funnel looks like.
Yeah, and as you've built like just all your different assets, we could. I'll just pick
a million different.
Yeah, so many. But I'll just talk about Newtral Groundz. Like when you have built, as you built Newtral Groundz throughout the years, especially starting as Tiger Press, how do you feel like you built it to where you haven't lost the authenticity, especially being in a city like New Orleans and representing New Orleans and you know the South in general,
and still making money? Because that's where it really comes down to. Like you would lose, especially with a brand like Newtral Groundz. Like you have brands that sell their authenticity every day, and how we've been able to manage and maintain is to be an agency as well. So Newtral Groundz is a publication where we produce content from our documentaries to our news, music, but we also are double as an agency where we work with companies like Live Nation, Nexus, companies like Idea Village to help them scale their marketing campaigns because we just understand it so well. And then us being one of the only publications that has an agency attached, that separates us from all of the other agencies because typical marketing agencies, you have to go out and buy media. on behalf of your clients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for us, we don't have to buy media. We just test the ads on our own market. And if the ads perform well, then we can go ahead and scale them from there. But just providing services, whether it was shooting music videos when I first got out of college, which really was the turning point for Newtral Groundz, because I was really just charging rappers to put their music videos on there. Or going to doing interviews where we did like interview series, or just doing more service work, because we have the skill sets, we do it all day, and no company is going to need more content than Newtral Groundz, more posting than Newtral Groundz. So any company is pretty much easily manageable, because we've built up such a cadence of how we create, aggregate, and distribute content. So that's how we manage, is just providing services, not really leaning on just the people buying us to distribute for them. We distribute our own stuff. We fund our own stuff. Like even with the Ground Zero podcast, like we fund our own stuff because we do the work to be able to get our budget up. We're not just, going around asking people to do things for us, because that's how you how you lose your authenticity.
I would say touch on that just a little bit, just because under Newtral Groundz, there's so many different IPs.
Right.
And I guess what goes through your mind of like when you build a new IP and when do you just put it under your normal, like your general umbrella?
Oh,
that's very niche, but I know that's
Yeah.
somebody out there that probably is.
Yeah, so when it comes to like building IP, so IPs of course stands for intellectual properties. So these are things that you create, that you own the rights to, and you can monetize. A lot of people in real estate, just looking at real estate, when you think of property, like you would have a portfolio of houses that generate you companies or generate you money. So what we're doing is we have a portfolio of companies or brands that are essentially generating us revenue through different means. Newtral Groundz, we've built Back of Town Comics, which is a comic series that we create where we speak about different socio-political issues in New Orleans. We've built a documentary arm where we're doing documentaries on like the 3rd Ward and the 7th Ward, just to build more for our niche. And it came a point where I realized that Newtral Groundz had to branch off to different things when we got so much of an audience that we weren't segmenting and we weren't maximizing the different people within the audience. So we have 200,000 followers on Instagram. You may have 10,000 of those are business owners. You have 10,000 that's in sports. You have 10,000 that's in the music. And with Newtral Groundz, we have the benefit of, if it's within our geography, we can talk about it. So we can talk about anything as long as we got New Orleans in front of it. So realizing that we can have the brand power to create different subsidiaries or different spin-offs of the brand, it gave us a chance to sell fresh. So it's not like Newtral Groundz is selling to you all day. It's like a new brand.
Yeah.
And it offers more diversity, more different perspectives. And when it has something to do with New Orleans, I just literally put it under Newtral Groundz. Like if it's something that's more global based, then I may just like Plug and Profits, for example. Like even though that is kind of through Newtral Groundz as well, it just makes it easier because Newtral Groundz serves New Orleans. Yeah. Like we're not in the business of trying to compete with Complex or like any of those other big brands, because we serve our own target market. So we're building IPs. It's just literally like what exists nationally that New Orleans doesn't have. You know what I mean? Like we don't have our own news company that's like more of a new style company that caters to Black people. Okay, let's do that. Like, okay, record labels, we need that. Let's handle that. Podcasts, like with the Ground Zero situation. Like just figuring out how we can, and I always tell you this, is how can Newtral Groundz become the Disney of New Orleans? You know what I mean?
Yes. And I love that you say that specifically, because clearly we have a marketing genius on our hands here.
We do.
But I wanted to ask you a question about world building. I think that you pretty much segued what I wanted to ask, in the sense of, what is the power of world building? What does that look like for anybody who may not even know what that is? What's your definition of that? And what is the value in really, I guess, like attaching a story to your brand to be able to give it a life of its own, whether it is something super niche and drilled down, or it is as expansive as like a Disney multiverse, in all the world. Yeah. So
and it's easy for us to world build in New Orleans because New Orleans is already a world. So we already are existing.
It's not a real place.
Yeah, it's not a real place. It's not. It's crazy. And you can see it's not a real place because you would see somebody like Disney spend, $50 million to build a New Orleans in Disney World. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
New Orleans is such a popular IP, and then it's geography, so no one owns it. So it's one of the only public domain intellectual properties that you can monetize, but New Orleans people are really particular about that.
Yeah.
So,
Very.
you know what I mean? So luckily being from New Orleans, you know, I'm a part of it as well, so I can do that. But world building, if you Google world building right now, you're gonna basically get like some Dungeons and Dragons type vibe, like mythical creatures type role-playing game type vibe. But there's a subset of people that are now taking this world building concept and just making it a big marketing play. Like, how do you immerse people? Because with so many people being sold to, you need a way to immerse them in order to get them to buy in.
Yeah.
So my co-founder Donovan, he introduced me to a platform called Pool Suite, which was a website, and it's basically like a digital beach club. You can go on there, you can sign a guest book, you can listen to music, and this whole website, it feels great. Like, I will sit on there and just listen to it's like 80s style beach club music that you just want to put on. And the whole front is that they're selling sunscreen. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
Wait, what? You
crazy.
now entranced me into a world I don't even know if I want to be in because it sounds so good just because of the light. Now I need sunscreen.
Now you gotta bring it to your house, you know, and that's a lot of the real estate that a lot of people don't play on. Like, the screens have desensitized us to real estate, ad real estate, right? Like, all around this set, for example, like you have books, you have, you know, different brands. Like, this is all commercial space. This is all marketing real estate. So it's like, as a company, you got to start thinking, like, how do I get on someone's coffee table? How do I get in someone's Apple Wallet? Like, how do I get my brand there? And world building is how you do it, because that's how people build their styles, and it's almost like lifestyle. Yeah. Essentially. So with the Pool Suite, they sell sunscreen that's branded like an 80s pool club. And it's called Vacation. They've been featured on Forbes and like New York Times just for their creative web player. It's like a music player that drives so much traffic to that website. And I think you introduced me to the Rochambeau Club. So that's another one. It's basically like this fake tennis club. And you can get not real at all. You can get on the website.
The more you know.
It's
and they have characters and everything.
Great characters, newsletters. They
don't
got
do this, because I was the Sims kid and would lock in for hours on end. So now I'm about to go join a fake tennis club in my spare time.
Go to the gift shop, buy you a bottle of wine, because it's all to sell wine. You know what I mean? So they have the Rochambeau Racket wine, which is like this tennis club wine. So you immerse them in the experience, and people are always going to want to take that experience back home. And in New Orleans, we learn that a lot because of the merchandise and the tourism. People always want to take things back home. So the world building essentially is just, how do you go a step further than traditional storytelling and include it in all of your different marketing assets. So, and I'll get into detail about how we turned the Jazz Bounce into its own mini world, but that's how we were able to see the success that we've seen, because instead of a traditional marketing approach, we immersed them into something that was fantasy. It's like, you got so many adults, like, people want to role play, they want to
they want to imagine,
they want to you know, they want to play dress up, like they want to go to the Halloween party,
or some form of escapism.
Exactly.
We need it.
You know, and if you got that escapism, but it's not nothing toxic, so it's like you actually helping heal them, you know, through the content. Then it's now you doing the double whammy, because you selling them on something that's good for them.
It's the world building is a whole thing. We need to talk more about it.
We can get into it,
because I do love it, and we deep dive into it
all the time.
all the time and talk about it. But before we dive into just the next segment of like innovation AI, please tell us more about Plug and Profits. And as you are a marketing genius, how are you able to help the next generation or current generation of business owners with that?
So Plug and Profits, it came as a result of our agency side. So working with, and I tell you this all the time, working with some of these marketing departments where you have, you know, people in these seats that just don't have the experience. And it's not their fault. It's just that with technology, things are moving so fast, you can easily be phased out of something just based off your, how much you deep dive into things, or your curiosity. You know what I mean? Like, when you don't stay curious, that's when you open yourself up to being, you know,
obsolete.
Obsolete. Basically, like, literally. So I started Plug and Profits as a way to, you know, talk to some of these marketing departments, talk to some of these reps, even regular everyday people, small business owners, and just how do we get them to be better at sales and marketing? You know, and I used to suck at sales and marketing. Like, you could talk to my people. It was a time when, and I just watched The Wolf on Wall Street a couple of days ago, there was a time when I watched The Wolf on Wall Street, the Jordan Belfort, the actual guy, he had a 7-hour-long seminar on how to sell, and it was like a video that I found in like the crevices of the internet, and I watched that whole thing. Yeah.
Now I gotta go find it because I love Wolf on Wall Street. I
It's
love
somewhere. It's like, it was so hard to find, but it's like 7-hour video. Sat down there and watched the whole video. You know what I mean? So it's not that I just woke up one morning and knew how to market. It was more so I just always sought information. And to bring that back to school, you know, I took a lot of philosophy classes. I was 2 classes away from having a minor in philosophy, and what they do in philosophy is teach you how to ask questions. And that's the critical thinking that's missing when it comes to people not being able to leverage AI, because you have this chatbot in front of you, but you don't really know what to ask it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So when it comes to like, what was the part I was driving home? It was about the
just plugging profits.
The plugging profits. So yeah, to drive that home about plugging profits is really about giving people the resources in a medium that they're familiar with. Because one thing that I've seen as a strength in Newtral Groundz is I know how to communicate or speak New Orleans, you know, being from here. So they don't have this type of content in their language. If we can do it and empower them, now we're building up the economy. Because if I can help make, you know, 10 extra people another $10,000-$15,000, now we just literally pumped up our own economy, and we did it just solely through resources. So Plug-in Profits is where I teach marketing skills. We're going to teach automations and AI, and just show these business owners how to leverage technology in order to scale their companies.
Hey, that is, you're saving the world.
No, quite literally. And it's also nice too, because you're circulating the profits piece within the same community. You know, like it's a cycle, and it's a positive one to combat and mitigate a lot of the negative systemic structures that are currently in place. So
Yes, no.
But you're doing the action. Yes. It's not a try, you're doing.
Right.
So shout outs to you.
I know.
Shout out to Plug-in Profits. How can people get connected to it if they want to be a part of the program? Or
Plug-in Profits, pluginprofits.com is PLUG, the word and profits with an S.com. That's us on YouTube. Haven't started Instagram yet. Really going to go heavy on YouTube since there's going to be a lot of long form content. But my personal Instagram channels and my personal TikTok channels are going to be used to drive that. So Brent M. Craige, which I'm sure y'all can put in the caption or something, they'd be able to find everything there.
Yes, so we'll put it in the details.
Right.
But to the point of segmenting, because you talked about technology with Plug-in Profits.
Right.
So technology seems to be a thread through all the things that you do.
Yes.
From the media side, which we'll get into music in a little bit, but talk to us more about just how you're able to utilize technology through media, from media to Savant, because Savant is also helping people and will help companies in ways that you said is the new wave.
Right.
So talk about how you are utilizing technology in all ways, because I know it's so many different tools
I'm trying to think
and
right
things that you've built. But if you could even pick just one that you think people could resonate with and like learn more about, oh, this is another way I can add tech to my business.
Yeah. Customer support. That's the most valuable way that we use tech in our companies. There's a lot of people that come in through Newtral Groundz because it's a big platform. So we get a lot of inbound. And in order to scale that inbound, we have 2 choices. We can either hire customer support reps, you know, benefits and all of that jazz for them to talk to people, or we can program the tools to be able to communicate so that our people who we're paying can focus on more high value tasks. So I talk about the story, not going to mention any names, but we hired this marketing guy, and we were paying them some money to sell products and services. And I already had the marketing campaign going, so we were getting like in 2 weeks about 300 leads for people who wanted to enlist in our marketing services or advertising services. And out of those 300 people, he probably talked to around 20 people, you know, and we were pretty much losing the amount of money that I was paying him because we didn't sell anything, and I was paying him. And I was offering them commission. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when it comes to like
going back to your numbers and the mathing, it wasn't making sense.
It wasn't mathing. So we were losing money when that happened. So after we decided to part ways, I built the AI customer support rep that would do his job basically. So whenever the leads came in from my advertising campaign, it would go into a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet would trigger an outgoing introduction email that would introduce what's going on, and it would the intent of the bot would be to get them to book a meeting. So whatever they say, we would have the AI read the message, it'll respond to them, but the goal is to get them to book a meeting. And I think that first month of using the AI, we made, I think like $5,000 just off of, just off like 2 clients or something like that, off like $300 in ad spend. You know what I mean? So we booked clients that paid us tens of thousands of dollars from AI. And they, even when I told them, because one of them asked me to get my representative to train her people because she was so good. And then I was like, that's about.
Oh my gosh. No, that actually introduces something that I wanted to ask you, because I think you touch on, I mean, you're a not so small business, but still very like intimate as far as like how many people are on your team, how many people have hands in your pot. And I think it is something to be said at the fact of like you are in the know of so much of your business, like you or businesses.
Right,
Let me put some big respect on Big Brent. But to that end, I would like to ask if there's anything as far as what advice you would give to new small business owners as we look to the future that is going to be tech sooner than not. If they're looking to utilize AI in any capacity, I know you mentioned customer support being a big one. Maybe they're not as tech savvy as you and can't create their own bot. What ways would you suggest that small business owners start tiptoeing in the field of tech or in AI to be successful for what the next 5 to 10 year landscape might look like?
So it's funny because now it's really not that hard, you know, and it's like, especially a lot of us being millennials, if you can make a MySpace page, you can build an AI automation.
I say that all the time. We were coding in like 7th grade.
We were coding like it's
you can do it.
There is no code. Like we don't need to code no more. Like AI does the coding. Like I've been able to build custom plugins and stuff, and I don't know how to read or write code, and I've been able to code my own products just by talking to ChatGPT about it. Like you can go into AI, and now I want to just be a ChatGPT endorser. You can do Claude or Gemini or whatever is the AI of your choice, or you can even host it locally on your own computer and get it to do these things just by communicating with it. The reason why the AI boom is happening is because for the first time, we don't need to learn computers' language to talk to computers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's talks in our language.
Been removed.
Yeah, it can talk in
really
any language, right? You know what I mean? So that's the benefit. You can go in any AI chatbot and just talk to it like you're talking to me. And it'll just do the stuff for you, build it out, you know what I mean? So it's really, there's really no barrier of entry at this point. That's why we're seeing such an explosion of content, tools, and everything just popping up. So the advice that I would have is develop critical thinking skills. You know, like instead of looking at how to learn a tool specifically, like go read a couple books on like philosophy and like how to ask questions and how to get the answer you're looking for without taking 50 steps to do it. And empowering yourself on these types of skills, that's the skills that are going to be the intangibles. And it's so funny because in college, the liberal arts majors, we used to get talked about, you know what I mean? Because we were just teaching y'all how to think, you know what I mean? But I'm like, now at this point, that's the only thing you need to learn how to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially with the attack on intellectualism currently going on.
Super attack on it.
Yes. But to that point, I think too, like, keep going because I done lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Yeah, so to close on that point, just the advice that I would have to people is just, you know, stay curious, you leverage these resources, go out and look for the answer because the answer is there. And so many people would come to me and ask me for the answer, and I respectfully tell them, like, I'm not telling you nothing that if I don't know, I'm going to go to AI and ask.
Exactly.
So you're just literally just lengthening your process to get to the solution.
That's true.
Yeah. No. And I will say I had a conversation with someone recently to that point of like, what does AI look like in utilization or an application in the future? And I think you hit on one of the big points of you have to be in charge of AI, similar to like Plankton with his wife or Dexter with his computer. It's like AI is not the replacement of human consciousness or like ideas and creativity. You're really using that as like a task rabbit to help you do things more efficiently and effectively.
Yeah.
So I think kind of another takeaway.
Yeah, and I wouldn't let people make us think that out of the millions of years of human evolution, that a computer can come in 100 years and process more than a human. It's like, it's impossible. You know what I mean? Like we can store more data in one strand of DNA than can be, you know what I mean? Like we're so much more complex computers than AI at the point. So it's just, people scared because it could paint pictures and stuff, so.
Points were made.
I would say, clearly we've seen, and like, we utilize AI in everything. Like in media and everything else. But I know your roots are still deep in music and culture, as you talked about, doing music videos to production, like, and then obviously with Jam Around, like you even turned obviously music tech into a thing. So let's dive into more of your music and culture side, because now you are a label owner, and I would love to know more about what you do as a label owner and how that has, we talk about world building, what all, bring us to where you are now and how we got here with music.
Yeah, so Newtral Groundz has always utilized music in our content. So we've done documentaries, like shout out to Chasing Cash, our early documentaries when I didn't know how to make music or produce things, he would be the one that would submit the music to us to use in our documentaries, and he'd not even charge us. You know, so he would give us that stuff, because with New Orleans, you can't make New Orleans content without having New Orleans sound. Like if we in Wisconsin or one of the other places, you could just use stock music and it'll sound cool, but with New Orleans, you need that sound behind it, and there's always so many copyright issues. And with how these technology platforms work, and just like how New Orleans music works, it's hard to get the rights to a lot of things. So we decided to create Newtral Groundz Music, which started out as really just a sound division of the company. And we were tasked with making music for our content. So we just needed a way to sync music to our own content. And when we started getting into the jazz bounce ecosystem, it came as a result of us looking into the jazz house subgenre, which is an adjacent genre where the artists like Burley Eyes, he's like a big artist in that space. We've seen how they were able to leverage memes and use that to drive streams so that people could reach their dreams. You know? But yeah, start rapping. Look, so but seriously though, so we went and saw that, and you know, we from New Orleans, so I'm looking at these dudes in Europe, and they making all this money off jazz, and I'm like, we started jazz, but they listen to thinking that rap was the only way to go. So we literally paired instead of house beats, which New Orleans people, you know, we have a small house community, but it's not really like, you know, mainstream New Orleans, and we just paired it with the bounce cadence. And the jazz bounce subgenre was born, which became arguably one of our most valuable IPs to date. We're building out a label. We have artists that's performing well. We're doing shows. We're selling vinyls. We're selling CDs. Just really doing everything that people say you can't do in music in 2025. And it's all because of the world building concept. Like, we didn't just create a song, or we didn't just try to promote an artist. We decided to merge two historical genres, which jazz is the most famous historical genre in New Orleans, and then bounce music, I would argue, is one of the most popular subgenres in the world right now, based off of like all of our moments of TikTok and stuff.
Drake.
Everybody.
Yes, literally.
Everybody.
Literally.
You know? And it works so well together because you have a heavy melodic genre and you have a heavy percussion genre. So when you merge it together, there's really no friction in the splicing of the genres. And that's pretty much what it turned into. It started from just us needing music for like our Instagram posts. We put out music for like a year. We started doing around, I think, 250,000 streams for the first year. And right now we're currently at around 400,000 streams a month.
Wow. All of those are probably me, because you created my new favorite genre. And so I do appreciate you giving us a peek behind the curtain to learn more about what inspired that and how that came to be. Because to your point, I think jazz bounce is taking like music by storm right now. Like, it truly is. I say that in jest, but I mean it sincerely. I listen to it. I think it's great. And I think, you know, from the world building that you're doing to the vinyls to the artists that you're bringing on, and I think we'll get into Mike Cole a little later, but yeah, just a little something. I would like to, I guess, elaborate on my original question and ask you, you know, with what you've built and what you're seeing and what you're feeling and what you're loving through this, where do you see jazz bounce going and this new musical venture for you in the next like 10 years?
In 10 years, jazz bounce could be it could be $1 billion genre. You know, let's look at Lo-Fi Girl, for example. I don't know if I remember the lo-fi music where it was like the girl studying. And that was a genre that was carved out by that artist, which we don't even know who did it. And Lo-Fi Girl, like Afro beats, like these are $1 billion subgenres. When you think about like what makes the market value of a subgenre is how much money are people making within it. So when just looking at our flagship artist, Mike Cole, for example, doing 250,000 streams a month, selling vinyls, selling out shows, if we had 5 of those and they were all making $100,000 a year, now we're looking at a market valuation of $500,000. And that's just for 5 artists. You know, like once things explode, there's over 100,000 songs that come out per day.
Wow.
So jazz bounce, in my opinion, is one of the most lucrative genres because of the role playing aspect in it. You know, being able to sell vinyl, because in the jazz era, vinyls was a thing. Yeah. Like the reason we sell CDs is because our CDs look like vinyl, you know, and we world build it around it from when it comes to how we sell things. Our website, for example, is like a mini lounge, so you can go to the website, you can listen to music, you can sign a guest book. We have around 500 people sign our guest book, just leaving just notes from all over the world about how the music is either stop them from crashing out or like help them, you know, get through a workout or something like that. Or they go to sleep to it. And shout out to the people who go to sleep. Shout out to the people who go to sleep to it. Y'all the real MVPs. But yeah, it's just so impactful, and I'm looking at jazz bounce as being a kind of a full circle moment for New Orleans music. Because jazz and bounce music are essentially the artists dealt with the same issues. You dealt with a lot of rights issues. You dealt with a lot of monetization issues, bad contracts. Is they go through the exact same stuff, you know, and it's kind of crazy how we're able to repeat that within 50 years, you know. So when it comes to what we're doing with jazz bounce, it's like a full circle moment of we own something, you know. Jazz and bounce is a staple in the community. We're not using any third-party samples, so we're not stripping down anyone's original works and working it into it, so we don't have to worry about licensing, we don't have to worry about clearances, we don't have to worry about none of that. It's just
love that for you.
Monetization. So in a world where New Orleans has been taken advantage of in the music space, the jazz bounce opportunity is literally just us giving them an outlet for ownership. So even with the roster that we're signing, we're bringing in so many people. We signing so many people, we giving them show opportunities, like we're actually fueling economic development in the music space. Like we've hired artists, DJs, singers, saxophonists, all to come in this because jazz bounce is such a promising venture, and it's on, the momentum is so high. So in the next 10 years, we expect this to be probably $100 million genre, probably $1 billion genre. A couple exits, catalog exits, where New Orleans artists can come out with a couple mil just because they were around this time, you know, and just fuel the economy, you know. So it's New Orleans' comeback in the music industry, but we're doing it from an ownership, not from just a being talent perspective.
No, I love that, and I love that you hone in on the ownership piece, because I think that is something that is lost upon people. Like people create things, like even going back to like IPs and intellectual property, and like people will create things and put them out, I think, into the world and not necessarily know or do their due diligence around how do you secure this property so where no one can come in and infiltrate it or take it away. And so I appreciate you sharing it and really getting into the nooks and crannies of what you see for the future, because it's helpful.
I know, and I was about to ask about the ownership piece, because you talk about it a lot. Is there any advice you can give to producers and our new artists about ownership and just like owning their work and just how they could just live off their art? Because that's a whole nother conversation, but that is something that a lot of people are struggling with.
Yeah, in this ecosystem, a lot of artists, they think it starts and ends with streaming. So if you can't make a successful streaming career, they feel like they can't make a career in music, when that's the furthest from the truth. And you see it in New Orleans because we have one of the largest musicians per capita as far as how many musicians we have in our population in the world. So we see how they can do galas, we see how they can tour, we have festival season, we have different things that show how you can make money as an artist. And that's the reason why a lot of people used to come to New Orleans, like musicians, because there was work down here, you know. But there are also other music markets that you can take advantage of. So as a producer or like an artist that's starting out, my biggest advice would be your music is marketing. Like streaming is marketing. And you have to understand how to add scarcity to music. Just because it can be on streaming doesn't mean you have to put it on streaming. We would have these songs and they would go viral on TikTok. We talking 10,000 videos made to the song, and the song is on jazzbounce.com. You know, you can't get it. And for one, because I probably did a remix where I didn't have the clearance to monetize off the song. But if the jazzbounce.com website last month, they had like 14,000 visitors. And they came there just to listen to music. Because if someone wants to hear a song, they're going to
find a way.
They got this one song that I used to listen to when I used to do my meditations to, and the song just got ripped off streaming one day. And till this day, I still look for that song. I'm talking, I've been to the 50th page on Google trying to find this song, and I've still never find it. You know what I mean? So it's that music, it pulls people. So with something that has that much pull, if you have something that someone likes, you can make it scarce. You know, like instead of just giving it to them on stream, and like make them go look for it. Like if they take 10 minutes to go find it, don't you think they may be a little more appreciative when they go find it? You know what I mean? So that's the thing. It's like you're still in the business. So supply and demand drives businesses. So you have to figure out a way to build FOMO around your product. And even if you're giving away music for marketing, you're literally getting paid pennies on the dollar. You're getting paid to get marketing, essentially. And we didn't start doing our first Jazz Bounce shows until we were like 100,000 plus streams a month. Wow. And our first show, we was able to make more money than we made in 2 years with streaming.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it just did it just to test
beautiful,
it.
Though.
Yeah, and then doubled it the next one.
I like that. I love that.
I know. So you've given gems for music for producers, artists, and the music side. Is there any gems that you want to leave with the current generation of innovators or entrepreneurs when it comes to just, stuff that you learn?
Make it a little darker.
Yeah.
Start talking about this. The innovation ecosystem. We're in a crazy time. Like we're going through an AI renaissance right now. And there are so many things that are changing in our community. Like not just in the Black community, but so many institutions are buckling at their knees to this technological innovation, whether it's the film industry or whether it's healthcare, as y'all would know, it's breaking through healthcare, sports, finance. It's gonna come for voting eventually, but I don't know how long the system will try to keep that hold on them. But what I would just say to any AI innovators or anyone in the entrepreneurship space is just to stay curious and learn. It's like we're in a time where you can literally ask one system something and it'll go scour the entire internet to find it out for you. Like those resources our people would have killed for, growing up. So, and things are new, and there's going to be regulation. Like just like when crypto happened and everybody was making all the money, and it was like I knew the end was coming. Like it's not going to be around forever. You know what I mean? Like ChatGPT and AI is not going to be this price forever. Wow. Like they're going to be like Sam Altman is already talking about trying to charge $2,000, for these tools, right? So we got to take advantage. Like even with Udio, which is an AI music generator that just got into a licensing agreement with Universal Music Group, you can no longer generate music and download it. So it's like things are changing every day as these companies and these behemoths try to scratch up what's left of their industry. Exactly. You know what I mean? So we have to definitely be on top of that, and it's a time game. Like if you have your own capabilities to download your own AI model and run it off your own computer, do that. Like just figure out ways to build a moat around what's inevitable, what's gonna come. Like it was a time when Uber rides was $7.
True.
And then that investor money dried up.
Is not today's price.
Once that investor money dry up, they're gonna have to make it back. You're looking at companies with $2 trillion valuations. It's like they're gonna. How do you think they're gonna get the money from?
That's true.
From y'all.
You didn't get too dark, but it is just it's realism. It's like telling people what is actually going to happen and how to really prepare for it. So,
and to that point, Bianca, I think in general, Brent, all of today's conversation has been very real from you and very authentic. And I think our audience, we obviously both appreciate it. And we're segueing into us giving you your flowers. We clearly appreciate you and the way that your mind works. I feel like today, I don't know if you ever used to watch Miss Frizzle's Magic School Bus?
Oh yeah.
I feel like literally you took us on a class ride through your mind today. Like we shrunk down, went in through your ear, and like have just been orbiting your brain.
It is so funny because like you are hearing this a lot for the first time.
Yes.
And it's like I'm hearing
this all the time.
I hear this all the time. So like if I would hear this all together, I'd be like, "Whoa, my mind is
blown." But I think that's what our audience will feel. But to that point, you have such a beautiful mind, and it is encased in such a wonderful person. Like you are truly humble, you are truly resilient, and I don't even think we really got too much into your personal, but I really just appreciate how far you've come from where you started and the empowerment and the inspiration and motivation that will give our listeners. And like Bianca said, future generations to come of innovators and entrepreneurs and people who are willing to get it out the mud and go outside and figure things out to help other people be great. And, you know, we talked about this in our interview with Josh, but like sometimes you just have to recognize that in your purpose, like it's bigger than you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I also want to hand clap and commend you and give you your kudos for being fearless and just following that whatever is in your head telling you these thoughts, you know, but you're listening to it and it has real impact. So thank you for blessing us and our audience today.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all
for being here.
Of course, we appreciate you and all the impact that you're, you know, doing in the world.
Yeah, you know, we trying. It's an uphill battle, y'all.
I know.
You're trying to do. No one ever said it was easy. They just said it would be worth it.
Like I know you're trying to do it with grace. You know. Sometimes I have to remind you, like, okay, you know, be nice to people.
That is fine.
No, but I think this has been an amazing episode, and we really appreciate
this is good.
you.
Yeah, of course,
It has.
of course.
No, thank you, Bianca, for making this a thing. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Standing on Business podcast. With that, continue to please stay updated with us. Well, before that, Brent,
how can people find
updated
you?
with us? How can people stay updated with you?
I mean, you know, most of them already are. So we got Newtral Groundz, which is the news outlet. We're going to, of course, do some of these clips on there. Bianca will put in the description on how to spell it because we spelled it a little differently for ownership purposes. There's the Plug and Profits platform, our Substack. Newtral Groundz has a Substack too, and Jazz Bounce has a Substack. It's just so much stuff. We just gonna put it in there.
That's fine. I'll put it all the details. Yes,
because I'm like, this is my side, the other side of my work. So
yes,
for sure.
And shout out to you too because you also help to keep all of these things.
Bianca.
Shout out to
Let me stop real
Bianca.
quick. Bianca, before we brought Bianca in, Newtral Groundz was like a fraternity. You know, she cleaned us up, you know, came with her experience, executive experience.
Yes.
And look at us now.
A nice old chief of staff.
From what club to company.
From club to company.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So with that, continue to keep up with all of us for all of the things. As you guys know, you can stay in touch with Bianca and I through our YouTube, our LinkedIn, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Our Instagram page is standingonbusiness.pod on Instagram. And then obviously Amari Green, Yoga Cook.
Yes.
Reach out to us if you ever need anything, want anything. Also feel free. I'm going to go ahead and throw Brent to the wolves. Reach out to Brent as well. If anything that he said today piqued your interest or if there's anything that you have questions about. But we thank you guys for tuning in to yet another episode of the Standing on Business podcast. And we will see you again in about 2 weeks.
Bye y'all.
Bye.
Yeah.